Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
This is Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe with Mike McDowall and Simone Carlos.
Hello, I'm Mike McDowall.
And I'm Simone Carlos.
Welcome to Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe, the show that discovers what it really takes to live, work and build a business in Spain.
Maybe you rent out motorbikes or own a hair salon.
Maybe you fit windows or train horses.
No matter your situation, along with our guests and our experts, we are here to offer guidance to help you succeed.
And you never know, you might be inspired to make changes or even start a brand new company.
Do get in touch and let us know if you have a question about a particular aspect of starting or running a company in Spain, big or small.
Send us an email. The address is simone@tre.radio. That's simone@tre.radio.
Right now, pour yourself a drink, find yourself a comfy place to sit, and enjoy this latest edition of Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe.
We have a bit of a different show today because we have just one guest, not two. And her name is AJ Philp.
AJ has lived in Spain for a decade and has spent the majority of their time in Xàtiva, around an hour north of Alicante.
She is an empowerment coach, helping women around the world to take control of their lives. And she talks about living in many different countries, finding the right school for your kids, starting a business in Spain, closing a business in Spain, starting another one, reinventing herself, and even dating as an expat.
Hello, I'm AJ Philp and I'm a global empowerment coach and NLP practitioner and hypnotist. I have been living in Spain for 10 years and I've spent 7 years in Xàtiva, 3 years in the North Costa Blanca, and I've returned back to Xàtiva to spend more time with my son who's been educated in one of the best schools here.
Where are you from originally?
I'm actually from North Shields. I'm supposed to be a Geordie, but my father was in the military, so we changed countries. In this case, we left North Shields after 6 months, but after that, every 3 years, I was in a different country all around the world.
Right, so you've lived in lots of different places, and you've chosen Spain.
Yes, lots of different places, and my original plan was actually to live in France, and I did 2 years research on living in France, but I happened to be ironing one day and watched The Place in the Sun, saw Valencia pop up, and just fell in love with the architecture of Valencia. And then I just did no research whatsoever. I just decided I wanted to go. Ended up on the programme, The Place in the Sun, Home and Away.
Did you really?
I did, yes, with Laura Hamilton. And I ended up being on the programme and came over here. And the only reason I got introduced to Xàtiva was through my ex-brother-in-law's mother-in-law, who was selling a property here. And they said, well, as you're going to Valencia, do you want to go and have a look at her property? And I did. And I fell in love with this town.
Right, so your ex-brother-in-law's mother-in-law.
Yes, was selling a property here in the mountains in Xàtiva. And they kindly picked us up from the airport, gave us 2 days touring around Xàtiva and their property. I loved their property. I came back a second time after the programme because the programme showed me a number of places, but I didn't like them because I'd already fallen in love with Xàtiva. So I knew this was the town. And I came back to see the house again, but this time brought an estate agent from England who had years of experience. And she just said to me, AJ, this is too big a property. You're pretty much on your own because your now ex-husband, but at the time my husband, was working 6 weeks away at a time. And she said, that's a lot to manage with a 3-year-old child. So with that, I declined the house and bought another one.
Were you A Place in the Sun success story?
I was a success story in the sense that I decided from that programme that actually I was going to buy one property to live in and one property to rent out, because I couldn't work out what I was going to do for a living because I stupidly didn't speak the language and hadn't taken any lessons because it was an impulsive decision, so hence not being able to speak it. But I knew that I wanted my child to be bilingual, and that's why I chose to go and live in another country. It had nothing to do with I wanted to live abroad. It was purely I had this child, I wanted it to be bilingual. Trying to get a child to be bilingual in England is pretty much impossible unless you live in London and send it to a private bilingual school. So hence choosing to live abroad.
Right, so you didn't want a place in the sun at all. You wanted a place
That was bilingual, yes, with a different language, yes. And I initially chose French, but now, of course, realise that actually the second most spoken language is Spanish. And I'm so glad I chose Spain. And as it happens, I like the sun because my father, being in the military, when we had postings like Cyprus, for instance, used to growing up on the beach, eating watermelon. I remember all of that, eating fish on the barbecue on the beach. I remember all of that as a childhood. And I've given exactly the same experience to my own son, which is amazing.
The difference, I suppose, is that your son, Taran, he hasn't moved around so much. So did you have an opportunity to make friends with that kind of upbringing, or were you wrenched away from friends?
My only friend that I have goes back as far as the age of 34. I have no friends from my childhood whatsoever, none. And that's the bit I miss. I don't have any roots. So that is a shame. But the difference is when I don't see friends for some time, like now I'm living in Spain, I have friends in England. When I go back, even though we may not have spoken, it's almost like we saw each other yesterday. So I have that ability to not speak to someone for a year or two, but when I do meet them, I make sure it's like I saw them yesterday. So I have that advantage. It also gave me a confidence level that most of my peers, when I was 17 years of age, when I returned back to England, didn't have. I was far more advanced than they were. I had a maturity level of a 40-year-old at the age of 17. I remember people telling me that because of the travel, and the confidence came from travel. So from that aspect, and fitting in any form of society, because I worked originally as a nanny, so I worked for the rich and the famous, and I was thrown into all kinds of situations, even going to Kensington Palace for tea, and I always fitted in. I never had a problem with fitting in and being able to communicate with whoever. I never thought of myself as better than them or beneath them, ever. I always treated them as equals, and that comes from my background.
And when you were moving around with your family, because your father was in the military, did you learn any of the languages of the places? No, and
I think that's also the problem here as well, actually, because a lot of expats put their children into private education, which is British, with a few hours learning Spanish a week, and it's not enough. If you want your child to be bilingual, you need to put it into the Spanish system, not the international system. And I made that mistake of, not originally, I put my son in a Spanish school system, but when he got diagnosed with SPD, sensory processing disorder, I decided to put him in a British system. And I paid international school fees for 18 months. And then I discovered he had 3 forms of dyslexia. Now, the school didn't discover it. 5 teachers and private fees, and they didn't discover he had dyslexia. It was me. And then they promised to put certain things into place, but they don't, because the international schools here cannot cope with anyone that is not normal in their books. So there was no help. They were promised to do certain things, they didn't do it. So I pulled him out and homeschooled him for 10 weeks, which of course is illegal in Spain, but I did it. And then I put him back into the Spanish school system, and I have not regretted that at all. It's the best thing I've ever done.
Is it illegal to homeschool your kids in Spain?
It is totally illegal to homeschool your children in Spain.
Is that right?
Yes. And so I did it because I wanted to save my son. And he has all the help he needs. He has a Senko teacher. He has a psychologist. We have everything on board. It's brilliant.
This is in the Spanish school that he's in now?
In the Spanish school system here in Xàtiva, yeah. And I was living in Javia at the time. I was living in Javia, going to an international school there, having paid 18,000 euros, which is a lot of money when you're a single mum. And, you know, and I paid for all of that, and we got nothing. And the attitude was, if you don't like it, leave, because there's someone else that can replace you. And that's generally the attitude of most international schools, sadly.
Yeah, I must admit, we lived in Mallorca and we had bad experience. Before we moved here to the province of Valencia and to Xàtiva, we had experience of the private schools in Mallorca, and yeah, terrible, just terrible.
It's because they're not actually governed by anybody, where in the UK we have a governing body called Ofsted, and here no international school has a governing body, and until they do, the level of education is substandard, and sadly your children will not become bilingual. They will learn some of the language, but they will not become fluent. And I'm fortunate enough that my son is now trilingual because Valencia has its own language.
Yeah.
So he's able to speak all 3 languages beautifully. But when he was in the international school, my friends who were Spanish said to me, AJ, his level is dropping. And I went, what do you mean he's dropping? He said he's having to think before he speaks, where before he never had to think before he spoke. And now that we're here, I watch him speak and I have the proudest moment in my heart. I tell you, it's amazing. I love hearing him speak.
Yeah, it's the same with my daughters, actually. They're also trilingual. So did you rent out a property? Did you buy 2 and rent one out?
Yes, we did. We had one in Denia and we had a property here in Xàtiva. I stupidly arrived in Spain and 6 weeks later decided to divorce my husband, which is probably not the wisest thing to have done. So
you could have just left him at home.
I could have left him at home. Yes, could have done. And he's actually from Zimbabwe, but was living in the UK with me, but working in Cairo 6 weeks at a time. So anyway, but we stayed friends and we co-parented. So we had a house in Denia. And at the time I was doing my master's in international design. And I graduated within 4 months of living in Spain. But because I didn't speak the language, and I recommend anyone that comes here, please learn it before you get here. And I didn't learn the language. I wasn't able to use my MA, which is such a shame because I am very, very good at design, but I can't use it. And there's not MA design work online. So that's a problem. So I've had to then readjust my lifestyle.
What sort of design are you talking about?
I can design anything from lights, chairs, tables, toys, anything.
But you're not allowed to do it in Spain?
I can do it in Spain, but I can't do it because I can't speak the language. So I can't get a job in Spain because I can't speak the language enough to be able to do it.
And it's not something you can do remotely?
No. So it was very difficult. If I managed to do a couple of years in England first in design, then I could have promoted myself. Look, I'm good enough. I can do this online. And a company may have invested in that. But at the time, I just finished my master's and I just couldn't do that. No company was going to hire me because I hadn't got any experience behind my belt. I needed to be on site to get that experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I had to go into a new direction completely. So, which was opening up my own language school originally called the Art of English in Xàtiva. And it was massively successful until COVID, and I lost everything. So
you couldn't do classes via Zoom or?
We did, but I was one of those loyal people to my staff. So I kept them on full pay, even though they weren't working the full hours. I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done was closed everything down. And I didn't. And that was a mistake that I made, a business mistake that I made. I didn't get any help from the government. And again, because I didn't speak the language, I didn't know how to get help from the government. So my own fault again. So in the end, we lost money, too much money. And I just decided that actually I couldn't do it. And then my son was also diagnosed at the same time with sensory processing disorder. And also at the same time, which is hilariously funny, I went on a blind date in Javier. And we both really liked each other, but we didn't fancy each other. So we became really good friends instead. And we're like brother and sister today. It's amazing. And I used to go and visit him at the weekend with my son. And we'd do so much around the North Costa Blanca region. So Denia, Javier, Moraira. And in the end, I ended up buying a house in Moraira and selling my house here in Xàtiva and closed my business down, put my child into an international school because of the SPD. So it all kind of came together, if that makes sense. It was like when he got diagnosed with SPD and then I fell in love with this area of Spain, I just thought, you know what, let's make a clean break. And that's what I did. And I walked away.
But now you're back in Xàtiva.
Yes, I'm back in Xàtiva because 1 year ago, when we pulled him out of the international system, we applied for schools in the Javier region. And also, I decided to apply for one here in Xàtiva because I had 2 apartments here that I was renting out. So we also applied here, and I knew this school was a really good school because I used to teach there as extra school activities as an English teacher. And I knew from the students, they were really good students. And so I liked the students. They were well-mannered, well-respected, and bright. So I applied, didn't think I would get in. And lo and behold, we got no offers where I was living, but we got offered this school here in Xàtiva. And my ex-husband was living here in Shatava, and I just said to him, look, I'm working full-time, you're not. Shall we hand Taran over to you and you take care of him for a year, and I'll have him 3 days a week and you have him 4 days a week. So we co-parented for the last year.
Do you think Taran was offered the place at the school because you used to teach there? Is that part of the reason?
I don't know. I mean, one, because I'm a single parent, so I get more points than most people. Two, because Taran has SPD and dyslexia, he gets extra points than other people. Three, I had a place in Shatava, so I get extra points than other people. And it could be that I used to teach there as well. I don't honestly know. I hope to goodness that wasn't the reason why, because that would be, for me, grossly unfair to be given a place because I taught there. I would prefer it to be based on my circumstances rather than the fact that I used to be a teacher there. But I don't know. I couldn't say. So he got offered the place, and then he went to live with his daddy, and then would come to me 3 nights a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then go back to school on Monday. And we did that for a year, but sadly, my ex-husband became very ill, scarily so, and couldn't cope. And then I had to make the decision of leaving my job, because I had a lovely job in Altea, teaching Russians and Ukrainians English.
Yeah.
And I had to leave the job. So I had to give up my entire life, which was a very happy life. I loved my life where I was. I loved the people. I had friends. My view was the sea every single day.
You got your blind date brother.
And my blind date brother 2 minutes away from me that does everything for me. He's amazing. Does all my Amazon ordering, collecting of parcels, running around after me. He was lovely. He's the best friend ever. And socially better. It was lovely. But speaking English all the time because it's international community. So very little Spanish having to be spoken, only at restaurants.
Before we go on any further, let's give a plug to this amazing school that's been so helpful to you and your son. What's the name of the school here?
The school is Claret.
Is it a concertado school?
Yes, and I'm delighted. They have been phenomenal with his... I had a meeting with the school, and I'll tell you how amazing it was. There were 8 teachers in the room. I have never had that in any education system, and nor do I know anyone else who's had that level. And then again, with Taran, with his father being ill, immediately Senko teacher, psychologist, head of year. And then they said, right, sign this form here. We'll get an additional psychologist to come in and speak to both you and Taran about what you're about to go through. Phenomenal.
Obviously, it's been worthwhile you're coming back to Shatava, and now that you're here, you've had to adapt again. So remind us how you now make your living.
I now work with women over the age of 50 who are either going through menopause, who basically empty nesters, wanting to change their career, imposter syndrome, want to give back to society, want to rewrite their next chapter of their lives, basically. And that's what I deal with, is women in their 50s, or those who want to become expats, because I've done it God knows how many times, and I've reinvented myself God knows how many times. So I talk from experience. And I also used to be grossly overweight, and now I'm not. And I also have experience with menopause, which is a really awful chapter of any woman's life, and come out the other end. So I'm hoping that I can empower all of these women in whichever direction they need to go.
Okay, that's a lot.
Is it? Okay, that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a lot of stuff. Very often if you ask somebody what they do for a living, they can say, I install solar panels, or something, but you do a lot of things there.
But it is a niche of a market. It is women over 50. I don't deal with anything else. It's women over 50. And most women, sadly, spend their lifetime of caring for children, caring for the husband, caring for the home.
Elderly parents.
And parents too. And then suddenly they want to rewrite the entire thing and start thinking about themselves, and then too scared to think about themselves because they've been so busy giving that they haven't had a chance to give to themselves. And my answer to that is no, you need to give to yourself. You need to empower yourself. I've done it so many times. I've had to reinvent myself, rewrite the chapter. I still got a 13-year-old son at the age of 63. I mean, that's no easy task. I'm saying to women, you can do it. And if you have a coach guiding you through that, it makes the journey a little less harassing, if that makes sense, or less stressful or less scary if you have someone that understands that journey and can help you through it.
And we will hear more from AJ Philp in a couple of minutes.
And later in part 3, Simone will be answering your questions about what to do when your Hess store gets it wrong.
Don't go away.
This is Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe, making Spanish business make sense.
TRE.
Talk Radio Europe.
This is Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe with Mike McDowall and Simone Carlos.
This is Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe. I'm Mike McDowall.
And I'm Simone Carlos.
This is the programme which showcases English-speaking expat business owners in Spain.
Whether you fry fish and chips or fit solar panels, we'd like to hear from you.
It doesn't matter if you're a sole trader or you have dozens of employees. We'd like to hear your story.
Send us an email. The address is simone@tre.radio.
That is Simone at TRE.radio, and we would love to hear from you.
Okay, let's get back to today's guest. A few days ago, Mike chatted to AJ Philp at her home in Xàtiva, an hour north of Alicante.
We talked about her youth, her family, struggling to find the right school for her son, launching a business, and lots more besides.
Like many people throughout Spain, foreigners and Spaniards, AJ suffered during COVID.
She was forced to close her language college and faced the prospect of reinventing herself yet again.
When COVID hit, I trained with Jay Shetty again, because I trained many years ago as a life coach. And I trained again with Jay Shetty during COVID, which was phenomenal. And I've just recently retrained again as a hypnotist. And I launched my business, spent €7,000 on a brand new website. It was amazing, called Sale to Success Coaching. And someone hijacked my Facebook. I lost my Facebook page. I was blocked, stole my business name. It's now a taxi firm in London. And I lost everything, and I tried to get it back.
Can I just interrupt? So Sale to Success is now a taxi firm in London?
Yep. And how that works, I do not know. And I did think about, should I change the name? But I've always loved Sale to Success because that's how I feel. I feel like I've always loved lighthouses and I've always loved the sea. And to me, a lighthouse is like a beacon to ships to stop them from hitting the rocks and guiding them to safety. And that's how I feel that this is about. I help people reach where they want to be safe and secure in their lives. So I thought, should I rename the business? I thought, no. So now I'm Sale to Success Info, which is a lot harder to get the algorithms to work towards me. So in some ways, I've put a lot more pressure on myself, but I truly believe in my name and my brand, and I will not let someone steal it from me.
Right. So you're sale2success.info rather
It's my
than,
new business rather than coaching.
Rather than .coaching or .com.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But somebody has stolen it from... I mean, what was the legal advice that you were given?
Basically, there was nothing they could do. Absolutely nothing they could do. I mean, I could, but it was going to cost thousands, and it wasn't worth it. And I just wasn't, I'm 63. I'm raising a 13-year-old boy. I'm on my own. I need to think about which battles do I want to fight? And this is not one I want to fight. It's just like... I just want peace and quiet. I want tranquility. I want to do what I'm passionate about. I don't want to be fighting this. I have one battle going on at the moment, which has come from the business I previously had, where the Hess store failed to close the account down. So my Art of English language school continued. And then one day the government came in and took all my money out of my bank account, and I had nothing. And I had no idea. I thought, where's this money gone? Who's stolen it? And then it turns out it's the government. And they did it twice before I twigged who it was. And then I had to go and get legal advice. And I went, no, I've closed everything down. I have the papers. I have everything. And the Hess store failed to do it. So at the moment, the Hess store is being sued for failing to close my business down. And I got fined a huge amount of money from the government. And I'm having to pay it. So this is when I just thought, okay, how many more lawsuits do I need? I don't need any more. I've got one going at the moment. That's enough of a battle. I don't need to open up another one. Just walk away.
Have you found, because I have, but have you found that hair stores only do what you ask them to do? They don't advise you?
Their advice is absolutely rubbish. But I legally gave him a letter asking him to disable my business, to close it and shut it down completely. I did not want to continue.
Oh, right. So you had instructed him to do that?
I had instructed him to do it, but he hadn't done it. And then he was getting letters from the Valencian government saying, what are the taxes that need to be paid this year? And did he write to me and say, AJ, what taxes do you need to pay this year? No, he didn't. So he was getting the letters, but wasn't forwarding them on to me. So had he forwarded them on to me, we could have shut this down within the first year. But he didn't. So for 2 years, he was getting the letters and doing nothing about it. And then I got stung for 2 years of taxes.
And social security contributions.
And yeah, exactly. And when you're a director of an SL company, it's a lot of money.
It's 300 or 400 a month, right?
It's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Because I had 12 staff.
Oh, it's
it's the whole, because you were SL and you paid for staff contributions and all of this. It was a lot more money than it would be if you were just autonomo privately. It was because I was an SL company.
Wow, so it's the social security contributions for you and for the staff members as well?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's
so
huge.
You're looking at thousands per month?
Yes.
For 2 years?
For 2 years. It was a lot of money. Yeah, and then fines on top of that. So fines, and I think
late payment fees?
Payment fees, yeah. So it was a lot of money. And so, yeah, it was, yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to disclose this, but how much money?
I'd rather not discuss it because it's a lawsuit at the moment, so I'd rather not discuss it.
Sure.
So let's just leave it at that. But yes, luckily the hair stores, which most people might not know, thankfully I had a lawyer that said to me, he will be insured. So for every mistake he makes, he can just claim it via his insurance. Because I also got stung before by another hair store who gave me the wrong contracts during COVID. And I had a staff member who took me to court because the contract wasn't supposedly legal. And I said to the hair store, I know nothing about contracts. I hire you to give me the correct contract. And he said, because it's COVID, it's special circumstances. I said, well, then why am I getting a lawsuit against me by one of my staff members? And I had to pay her several £1,000s to keep her quiet, basically, because she was going to take me to court. So I had to pay her, just outside the courtroom, to be perfectly honest. We made an agreement. Otherwise, it would have cost me thousands had we gone to court, and I'd lost the court case. And that was down to a hair store.
Right. So are you currently engaged in the process of suing
a hair store,
your former hair store?
Yeah. For not closing my business
down.
For not
closing down the business.
Yeah.
But he or she or the firm will be insured against lawsuits.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So he should be able to say, look, I made a mistake. It costs this amount of money. We need to pay her. And the insurance company should, in theory, pay. But if not, he would have to pay. But that's why he has insurance.
Well, that's a very useful bit of information.
And I've never been told that, because if I'd known that first time around, I would have sued the first hair store for sure.
We still can.
I suppose I could, but I can't be bothered. You get to a stage in life where you just literally do have to choose your battles. You have to go, is this worth it? And for me, it's like I've got one lawsuit. I just want tranquility in my life. Just let it go. And I think that's, you can't go through life being subservient. I don't believe in that. But at the same time, I think you also have to choose your battles. And it was only a few thousand for the first one, so I can let that go. I can't let this one go because it was a lot of money.
Gosh, that is such a big thing. But I'd like to go back to, because it ties in with what we talked about in last week's show. We talked about trademarks and brands and protecting yourself.
Yeah.
And so I'm still intrigued as to how and why a London minicab firm was able to hijack your Facebook page and pinch your identity, and why sailtosuccess.coaching.
Yes, exactly. I think it came about. Someone on my Facebook page was asking me about doing my social media posts and would you like me to design your web page? And I kept saying, no, my webpage is beautiful. I don't want it changing. I'm very happy with it. I've spent a lot of money on it. No, I don't need anyone to do my social media. I'd really like to do it myself. And they kept harassing me. And in the end, I just said, no, please just go away. I've said no, enough. And I then blocked and reported them to Facebook.
And this was all via Facebook messaging?
It was all Facebook. And I blocked him and I reported him to... Now, maybe if I blocked him, that would have been probably... but I didn't. I reported him because he was harassing me. It was constant and getting ruder and ruder by the moment. And then the next minute I got... is it the Meta office or whatever it is that looks after the Facebook? Said, oh, we've had several complaints against you. Please give us the reason why we've got these comments. And I went, well, I don't know who's made a complaint against me. I've not seen any complaints. Could you please show them to me? Then they wrote to me again and went, you've got 10 days to respond. If not, we're going to close your account down. And I said, I responded the first time asking you to show me what the complaints were so then I can respond to what they are. But I cannot see any complaints on my personal page or my business page. So I honestly don't know where you're coming from. And then I got the list of these complaints going, oh, she's a fraud, she's this. And I'm like, I have never seen and I've never dealt with these people as clients. So they were made up accusations. And so I wrote back and I went, thank you for sending these reports, but I can tell you right now, I have never had them as clients. I do not recognize them. These are complete fraudulent claims. And I'm more than happy to show you that my client list, because I keep all documentation of every client has to fill in a questionnaire form before I will deal with them. And the next minute I was shut down. So then I wrote to them and said, please, can you reopen? Because obviously I've lost, my personal page also got hijacked. And I lost that. So videos of my son when he was growing up that you do on Facebook, I lost all of that, all those lovely memories and all of my followers and all of my friends. And I've never got them all back. I really haven't got them all back. And it's such a shame that I can't get them back. And Meta just ignored me. And then the next minute, I get this guy saying, oh, for this amount of money, I can get your page back.
Ah, so it's a ransom.
Yeah.
I wonder, were you ever able to, this sounds a bit crazy and perhaps a step too far, but were the messages from Meta real?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Or was that him as well?
It could well have been him. And I suspect it probably was. But I'm not tech savvy, but my best friend, who's like my brother to me, Simon, is. And he designs websites and does all this kind of stuff. And I said to him,
Wait a minute. So blind date brother Simon is a website designer.
He's a website designer, yeah. And my new website is thanks to him. We work together on this.
Right. And this is sail2success.info.
Yeah.
Okay. So people can look it up and check out Simon's handiwork and maybe hire Simon.
Yeah. He's brilliant. He's lovely. He's really good at what... And I was because I'm a designer, I'm very anal about what I want. I know exactly what I like and what I want. And I'm quite determined, and also because I'm not tech savvy either, I'm like, oh, how do I do that again? How do I do? But I know what I want. If he can work with me, he can work with anybody, because I'm not the easiest person to work with, because I have a design idea but have no tech knowledge at all.
Right.
So, and he was brilliant. He was amazing.
I suppose as a designer, though, you are fluent in the terms of design, so you're able to express
yes, I knew exactly what font I wanted, what colours I wanted, how I wanted the style to look, what images I wanted. I knew all of that. And because I've taught English, I also know how to write well. So that was handy too.
Okay.
So I was able to give the right... there was none having to check my spellings or any of that kind of stuff. From that point of view, it was quite handy too.
Okay.
For him. It made his life a little bit easier, I suppose.
It's interesting to hear the sort of trials and tribulations, that you've faced as a business owner in Spain. I wonder, they could have happened anywhere, but how has your experience been overall as an entrepreneur in Spain?
If I'm honest, it's more difficult than you think it's going to be.
Right.
Really difficult. And anyone coming to Spain there are 2 pieces of advice that I would give them. One is learn the language. Do not come unless you've learned the language, because that holds you back, seriously holds you back. And paying translation fees, and then making sure the translator understands how your mind works. Luckily, I've got one now who we're so alike. She understands exactly what I'm saying. So it works really well now. But that's the other thing, is getting a translator that works really well. The other one is making sure you've got the right lawyer. And I'm lucky enough to have the best lawyer for properties. She's phenomenal. And we've bought 5 properties through her. And she's like a rocket. So that's good. And the other one is make sure you know exactly what you're doing business-wise. And if you can get it up and running before you come here, all the better. Because it does take a lot longer to get it established, because there's more red tape to go through. And in some ways, as much as we hate the red tape, and you go, oh, we wouldn't get that much in England, in some ways, you should have red tape, because we're a foreigner in a country. So I understand why they have the red tape. Why should we be treated as local people? We're not. We've come to their country, and so we should have this amount of red tape.
Well, the thing is, you're starting from scratch. All
Yes.
those things that were done from birth, like your birth certificate, like your social
Yes.
security number, like all those different things that are done gradually over
Yes.
a period of many, many years in the
Yes.
UK,
Yeah.
or wherever you've come from,
Yeah.
you arrive here,
Yeah.
and then you have to do them all. You have to start from scratch. So
Yeah.
that's why it feels like there's lots of red tape.
Exactly.
There isn't. It's just there's a lifetime of red tape to get done in a short space of time.
Exactly. Like, you have to redo your marriage certificates in Spanish. You have to do your birth certificates in Spanish. You have to do everything, convert everything into Spanish. And they have a different process to us. It reminds me very much of how the civil service used to be in the UK. This is how we do things. This is the process, and we do not divert from that. And that's what you have to remember. It's very much that way inclined here in Spain, and you have to have a huge amount of patience.
So that's another great bit of advice, right?
Patience is
Learn the
definitely-
language, know what you're doing,
And have patience.
and have patience.
Yeah. And I think in England, we're taught not to have patience because we live in such a fast-paced society. And especially for me, having lived the last number of years in London, very much running rather than walking to everything. And here you learn to slow down, which is much better for our health.
Tranquilo.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I've just finished a book called Stolen Focus. It's phenomenal. Definitely recommend reading it, about how society is stealing our focus. But if you live in Spain, you can regain it back for sure, because everything is slower. Everything is at their pace. Mañana, mañana. Tomorrow, tomorrow. And you have to learn to live like that.
That's a great note on which to end. Women 50 plus who are looking to take back control of their lives, how do they find you?
They need to go onto my website, selltosuccess.info, and on there are contact details for them to be able to reach out to me. And I deal with everyone all around the world. So America, Australia, England, and Spain.
So it's a community. They'll be joining a community.
They will. And they will also have, when they join, I have a Facebook page where they can come to, which are just purely for women over 50. So you don't necessarily have to be coached by me. You can go onto my Facebook page and I talk to you via that too. So I can help women who are struggling without actually having to have one-to-one coaching. I offer great tips and advice on various subjects.
Many thanks to AJ Phil.
And if you want to join AJ's community of women taking back control of their lives, especially if you're over 50, go to sailtosuccess.info. That's sailtosuccess.info.
In part 3, I'll be considering what to do when your Hester gets it wrong.
That's after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe, the expat entrepreneur's Spanish survival guide.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain.
This is Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe with Mike McDowall and Simone Carlos.
Hello, I'm Mike McDowall.
And I'm Simone Carlos.
Welcome back to Business Roots on Talk Radio Europe, the show that discovers what it really takes to live, work and build a business in Spain.
Along with our guests and our experts, we're here to offer guidance to help you succeed.
Send us an email. The address is simone@tre.radio. That's simone@tre.radio. Okay, ordinarily in this part of the show, we would answer your emails. But this week, we're going to take a look at that question raised by our guest, AJ Philp.
It's a difficult subject, but an absolutely essential one. We're talking about what happens when your gestor gives you bad advice that actually costs you money and gets you into trouble with the authorities. I've seen this happen, and the consequences can be really serious for business owners.
So let's start with the basics. For anyone who is new to Spain, Simone, can you quickly explain what a gestor actually is?
Of course. A gestor is uniquely Spanish. They're licensed professionals who act as intermediaries between you and Spanish bureaucracy. They help with everything from registering your business to filing tax returns, dealing with social security, getting licenses, and so on. They navigate the Spanish red tape on your behalf.
And, of course, most expats use one, don't they?
Absolutely. If you're running a business in Spain and you don't speak fluent Spanish, a gestor is pretty much essential. The Spanish system is incredibly complex, and gestors have the contacts and the know-how to get things done. But here's the critical point that many people don't understand. A gestor is not a lawyer, and they are also not an accountant.
Right. So what exactly can they do?
Well, gestores can fill out forms, submit paperwork, deal with government offices, and guide you through administrative processes. What they cannot do is provide legal or financial advice. They can help you complete your tax return, but they shouldn't be calculating your taxes or advising you on tax strategy. That's the job of a qualified accountant.
However, those lines seem to get blurred a lot.
They do, Mike. And that's where the problems start. Many gestors will offer opinion on tax matters or legal issues, and clients assume they're getting professional advice. But if the advice turns out to be wrong, you're the one who faces the consequences: penalties, fines, interest charges, or worse.
So let's talk about what actually can go wrong. What are the most common problems that you have seen?
I'd say the most common issue is incorrect tax calculations. For example, a gestor might advise you that certain expenses are deductible when they're not, or they might file you under the wrong tax category altogether. I've seen cases where business owners have been told they don't need to charge VAT on certain services when they absolutely should have done. When the tax office catches up with you, and they will, you're liable for all the back taxes plus interest and penalties.
And that, the back taxes, the interest, the penalties, it can all add up to quite a lot of money.
It absolutely can. I know of one case where a business owner was advised by their gestor that they could operate without registering for VAT because their turnover was below a certain threshold. The problem was they were providing services to other EU countries, and the rules are completely different for cross-border transactions. By the time the tax authorities caught up with them 2 years later, they owed over 40,000 euros in unpaid VAT plus penalties.
Holy moly. So what happened? Were they able to claim that money back from the gestor or the gestoria?
That's the key question, isn't it? And this is where it gets complicated. In theory, yes, you can sue a gestor for professional negligence if their bad advice has cost you money. Like AJ said, gestors are required by law to carry professional liability insurance, which is designed to protect clients from exactly this situation.
Yeah, I'm sensing that there is a but coming.
There is. The problem is that you have to prove negligence. You need to demonstrate that the gestor gave you specific advice, that this advice was wrong, that you followed it, and that it directly caused you financial loss. If the gestor claims they never gave you that advice, or that you misunderstood what they said, it becomes your word against theirs.
So, documentation, therefore, getting things written down is crucial.
Absolutely crucial. This is one of my golden rules. Always get everything in writing. If your gestor tells you something important about tax obligations, licenses, or any legal requirement, ask them to send it to you in an email. That email trail can be extremely important if things go wrong.
What about the language barrier? Many gestors communicate in Spanish, and if your Spanish isn't perfect, there's going to be room for, there's going to be a lot of misunderstanding.
Absolutely, and that's another major issue. I always recommend working with a gestor who speaks your language fluently, or having a translator present for important discussions.
So let's say that somebody is in this situation. They've discovered that their gestor has made a mistake that's cost them money. What should they do first?
First, don't panic. Second, gather all your documentation, every email, every receipt, every piece of paperwork related to the issue. Then, you need to get a second opinion from a qualified professional, a tax lawyer or a specialized accountant who can assess the situation objectively and confirm whether the advice you received was indeed incorrect.
And then you confront the gestor?
Yes, but do it formally. Write to them explaining the problem, providing evidence of the advice they gave you, and outlining the financial consequences. Give them an opportunity to rectify the situation. Many gestors, if they realize they've made a genuine mistake, will work with you to sort it out, whether that means helping you file corrected returns or even covering some of the costs through their insurance.
And what happens if they don't cooperate?
Then you're looking at making a formal complaint. Gestores are regulated by the Colegio Oficial de Gestores Administrativos. That's their professional body. You can file a complaint with them and they will investigate. If the complaint is upheld, it can result in disciplinary actions against the gestor.
And what about legal action? Are you actually able to sue them?
You can, yes. You'd be claiming for professional negligence and the liability insurance should cover it. However, and this is important, litigation in Spain is very slow and it can be expensive. Cases can take you years to resolve and there is no guarantee you'll win, even if you have a strong case.
So, surprise, surprise, it's not a straightforward process.
It's really not. This is why prevention is so much better than cure. Let me share some practical tips for avoiding these problems in the first place. First, understand that your gestor cannot give you advice. Use them for what they're good at, submitting paperwork. But get separate advice from lawyers and accountants for legal matters and tax planning.
Right, so everybody, we all need multiple professionals.
For a business of any size, yes, absolutely. Think of it as a team. Your gestor handles the bureaucracy, your accountant manages your tax affairs and financial planning, and your lawyer deals with contracts, legal structure, and any disputes. They should all be talking to each other, but they each have distinct roles.
Yeah, the problem with this, Simone, is it's going to add to the costs, though, isn't it?
In the short term, yes. but it's far cheaper than dealing with the aftermath of bad advice. I've seen businesses nearly destroyed by tax penalties that could have been avoided with proper advice. Spending a few €100 on professional consultation can save you tens of thousands down the line.
Okay, we're almost out of time. What is the most important thing that our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, there are a lot of things to consider, but I'd say this. You are ultimately responsible for your business. Don't treat your gestor as a miracle worker who can handle everything. Stay involved. Ask questions. Get advice in writing. And don't be afraid to get a second opinion on important matters.
Okay, brilliant advice, Simone, as always. Thank you so much. And that, I'm afraid, is all we have time for today. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Next week, we're heading to Alicante. Hasta luego.
Adios.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this program, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.